Welcome to the first in a series I'm going to call the Give Me a Break School Guide, not the School Survival Guide. Do you remember an old Nickelodeon show back in 2006? It was called Ned's Declassified School Guide, Survival Guide. But this guide is not going to be declassified, not going to be confidential. This guide is open to the public, where every 6 minutes of the broadcast, we're going to give you a guide to each issue that we're focusing on. It's like our back to school month, but this is different. This was inspired by that Nickelodeon show, and that's what inspired me because I love that show. I watch it every night before I go to bed, and each tip will help me out. If you want to watch it, it's on Netflix right now. Just look up Ned's Classified School Guide, and it will take you there. We're not going to show clips from the show because they could really block me. But what I want to do for each 6 minutes of this series is to give you tip by tip like they do in the show. So let's begin by talking about detention. There is 4 types of detention. There's the morning detention, there's the afternoon detention or the after school detention, the lunch detention, and Saturday school and or Saturday detention. That's the 4 types of detention. The first detention is the morning detention, where if you have detention for the morning, you would be in detention for a minimum of 60, 90 to 120 minutes. 60 and 90 is 1 hour to 1.5 hours. 120 minutes is the 2-hour detention. The tip I have for you: do not be late for detention. Always show up on time. If you're late for detention, then you got to make up. Then you get another hour. You get minutes. Like in Everybody Hates Chris. Chris got detention, and he was late. And he got another day detention. He got all the minutes added up onto him. Let's see what else. Let's not forget the 3 to 7s. The 3 to 7s. We're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about 3 to 7s in just a minute. Then there's the after school detention, or the afternoon detention. Afternoon detention is where you would sit in a room like this on the desk. Same thing as morning detention. You sit like this. No talking, no eating, no drinking, no sleeping. If you put your head down, you get another day detention. That's a lot. Those are the tips. 2, 3, 4, 5. Doesn't 2 through 4 or 2 through 5. It doesn't. I'm kind of lost count here. Then there's also the lunch detention. It's to where you would sit in the middle of the cafeteria. I remember this. When I was in intermediate, I had that lunch detention. You would sit in the middle, and you would not talk to any of your friends. You would sit there in the middle, eating your lunch, and if you're done eating lunch, you throw it away, and you sit in the middle, like this. Like that. And then there's the Saturday detention. Saturday detention is to where you would sit in the cafeteria in a room, the same thing. You don't put your head down, you don't do this, you don't do that. If you do that, you get another one. It's like prison. It'd be like, what did you get here? You saw some kid? Oh, I called in a bomb threat. I got this today. So it's basically the same like ISS. Except you would do your work. No drawing pictures. But no drawing pictures, no nothing. But sometimes during detention, you would write down a set of rules. And at that time, you would write down
I'm taking a little trip this morning.
Sorry. You would write down the list of the rules. Or remember Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, where Harry gets detention and then he has to write down, I must not tell lies. Well, his hand cramped. Can't not be doing that. If you have detention, just basically sit there and make your right words, write words. I mean, there's lots of things you do to get detention. You can text in class, talk to your friends, don't listen to teacher. You do all those things, that will get you detention. For 60, 90, 120 minutes, the final tip I have, don't be forging any notes for missing detention. If you missed detention, you have to make up that detention you missed. And 60 minutes, and if it's an hour long, if you get 1 hour detention, you get another hour detention. So you're sitting there for like 60 minutes. Sitting there for like 120 minutes. Sorry about that. But another thing that I have to tell you about this is I never got detention. I only had lunch detention. Forget that. Just sit there and leave my lunch break. Something's like detention. You don't sit there and do anything else. Just sit there and be quiet. And if someone's picking on you, just know this. Talk to the detention teacher. They will help you out. And no whispering. They will hear that. Still ahead, the local anchor is somebody who you trust. What is he and who is she? Tom Jones is going to explain. Coming up next, this person got detention for leaving the classroom to go get a donut. Did the punishment fit the crime for her? Stay with us. If you just joined us, we're starting off our Give Me a Break school guide, inspired by Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide. This was inspired, not stolen. So far, what we've talked about here is detention, what you need to do if you're in detention. But let's look at some people. Let's look at one person who had detention and another thing called 3 to 7s. One person has that. This was from World's Strictest Parents. If you don't know what World's Strictest Parents is, it's a show to where these teens are doing things that every teen does. Smoking, drinking, doing drugs. Until the parents ship. And so what did their parents do? They ship them off to a state where they meet the strictest parents, like in Alabama, Texas, Missouri, Idaho, wherever. And for 1 week, the stricter parents have to control the bratty teens. We're not going to show you the whole thing every episode. We're going to show you clips of the episode. I want to show you now this clip from an episode. It was 5 years ago. This teen decides to leave class too early to go get donuts because the line was too long. But she had detention. So did the punishment fit the crime? Let's take a look.
All politicians are the same. No one will save you.
Forget the ads. I don't have a remote.
Part of what we're doing in those arrays is exactly what we're doing in the exercise at this point.
Bailey's attending Victoria Park High School with Fuyu. At least, that was the plan.
A procedure.
I want to get lunch early because everyone runs up to the canteen. And I want to get lunch just now. I said that I had to do tuck shop duty.
Half a day at school, and she's already broken one rule.
Can I have a hot dog? Can you put a little bit of cheese in? Like a lot of cheese? Thank you. People literally run from their classroom to the canteen, and I wasn't going to miss out on food because I was hungry and I hate everything that Portia puts in my lunchbox. She doesn't even wrap it up in lab wrap. Like how gross it sweats.
And there goes the no littering rule as well.
step.
Bailey, can I just have a chat with you in my classroom quickly,
Okay.
please?
Yeah.
Right, yesterday, okay, what happened at the end of the lesson?
Oh, I left early
Okay, why did you leave early?
because I wanted to just go to the canteen. I need to go to the toilet, and because like everyone gets to the canteen, I was hungry, so I need to go to the toilet first, and then
First.
yeah,
What are breaks for?
eating,
Eating and
toilet.
toilet. What did you tell Mr. Berry?
I had to do tuck shop duty.
Ducks of duty.
Yeah.
Okay, is that the truth?
No.
Okay, if you don't tell the truth and you make up something, what do we call that?
Lying.
Okay, because you lied to a teacher, the punishment is detention. And it's for 2 hours.
Okay.
Detention on her second day.
This is a document that has got all the school rules in.
And the punishment is writing out all the school rules.
That's so much to write. Let's go. I might get RSL. That's okay. It's chill. It's gonna take so long.
Okay, let's have a look how far you've got, yeah? Let's have a look here.
That sounds different.
What's this?
Oh, that sounds different.
No, it's not something different.
That's-
No, that's
So much different. No, that's another that I wrote ages ago that I'm writing to my friend. That's not to do with that. You can't read that.
Instead of writing out the school rules, Bailey's written a letter saying how much she hates it here.
You haven't done what I've asked you to do.
Okay, yeah.
Why not?
It's like boring.
It was boring. That's the punishment. It must be boring. Now you're going to sit double time.
Double detention. And that's not all.
Potato.
That's all I wanted to show. What does Common Sense say? Oh, and before we continue on, I should point out something. The Roku TV I had, it broke. So I'm stuck with this TV until I get a brand new one. And at that time, we're gonna go back to the regular Roku TV, showing a lot of things. I'm gonna have that up to speed on here. Once I get a new TV, we're gonna get things back up to speed and back to the way it was. Could be after Christmas. So again, we're gonna stick with this TV here and all that, and Xbox, YouTube, and all. And 8 buttons work. So, and yeah, I don't have a remote. So again, like I don't have a remote. So you get the picture here. So what does Common Sense say? If you're in detention, stay in detention and do what the teacher tells you to do. No drawing, no nothing. You get to write out the rules, write out the rules. Okay? Just write them out. Don't sit there and write letters and all that stuff. Don't even forge documents. That can get you in a lot of trouble. That's a lesson in life. You do the crime, you do the time. It's even worse than sitting in juvie. That's even much worse. So that was just one video I had to show you. But the bottom line here is this: if you get detention, do what the teacher says and follow the rules. That's the bottom line. The local anchor. Anchorman, Anchorwoman. Who is he and who is she? Up next, a look at the Anchorwoman and the Anchorman by Tom Joe. Stay with us. Do you ever watch the news? Or do you ever realize you have a favorite news anchor? Or Anchorman or Anchorwoman? Everybody relies on that person. The Anchorman or the Anchorwoman or the co-anchor. That somebody is a face, man or woman. Everybody is different. One of my favorites is one of the anchors of a news who used to be news anchor here. And if she was here back in Texas, this would have been a great story with a great special guest. But she's in another state, and the only way I can reach her now is through Instagram. The local anchor, ain't no issue about that. It's all about the box office and the ratings. And the best friend. So why are anchorman, anchorwoman, co-anchors, anchors are so popular these days to bring you the news and a face. Here's Tom Jarrell.
It's 5:45 on a Wednesday afternoon. In 15 minutes, KSTP TV, Channel 5 in Minneapolis will go on the air with its 6 o'clock Eyewitness News. It's also 15 minutes away from doing battle. Battle with its longtime arch rival across town, WCCO, Channel 4. And the prize in this war is not land or crown jewels. It's something even more valuable. Ratings.
Tape 1 is the cordoned off stuff, and the bite is on tape 2.
In Minneapolis, the local newscast often commands more viewers than any primetime network show. That's more than Dallas, more than Little House on the Prairie, more than even 2020. Right now, KSTP overall holds a 1 rating point edge over WCCO. It's a slim lead, but it's worth almost $1 million a year in extra revenue, if KSTP can hang on to it.
Some tense hours in St. Louis Park this afternoon, and a woman has become an apparent murder victim. So it's just one more line.
So the anxiety you see on the faces of the producers, the reporters, the technicians, is caused not so much by the domestic murder that led the news that night, but by the contest to get the news out to you.
Somebody give me 10-second countdown.
And while the faces behind the camera may be somewhat strained,
10, 9,
the face that feels the tension the most is the one that can't afford to show it at all.
3.
The point man of these troops, the anchor man.
Good evening, everyone. The governor sent a letter to lawmakers.
Of all the people in the news department, the people who are on the air are under more pressure than anybody else in the entire news department because so much attention is focused on what they do and their contribution personally. If the ratings go down, the first people you look at are the anchors.
And I'm fully cognizant that we're being judged on several different levels, some of which are non-journalistic.
They're doing a very specific job that involves cosmetics, choreography, and image building. And I think the few who actually want to serve as journalists tend to be very frustrated people.
The anchorman, who is he? Who is she? Well, one way of putting it is to say the anchorman is to television what newsprint is to your daily paper. They communicate the news directly to you. They do it by sitting on a set like this one and reading what a whole staff of people have written for them as it rolls in front of the lens through what has become the anchorman's best friend, the teleprompter. Just about every anchorman uses a prompter, which is why they appeared it on the news so well, they don't even need to look at their notes. But anchormen, of course, are not newsprint. The way television brings you the news is with a face that comes into your bedroom late at night and looks right at you. And so when it comes to drawing viewers, the anchor can become as important as the news itself, which is why anchoring local news today is big business, very big business.
Well, listen, don't sign anything longer than 3 years.
Her name is Shirley Barrich, the den mother of a growing band of people who trade in what has come to be called newsflesh.
We will definitely get New York or L.A., I promise you.
From her office on Madison Avenue in New York City, Shirley looks at local news all day. Tapes sent to her by aspiring anchormen and anchorwomen from just about every crossroads town in America.
Good-looking guys.
If she likes what she sees, she'll use her grapevine of station executives and send the tape onto a station that she knows is ready to pay for a new anchor. If she doesn't, it can mean a local anchor who's hoping to move into big money in a big city will have a long wait.
Forget it. No. But I'm looking for that something special that makes one tape stand out from all the rest. He really is pretty. And that one's going to be the star. But that doesn't mean that all of these people are qualified broadcast journalists. I wouldn't handle them otherwise. Yeah, I think that hair is even natural. He is pretty.
What brings out the feeling of a star? You may say, this guy's got it.
A very, very professional delivery. A warmth, a charisma, which I can't explain at all.
Youth?
We are sort of a youth-oriented industry, not as much as we were 10 or 12 years ago.
Hair?
It's not bad to have hair. It's better to have hair than to be bald.
Eyes?
Eye contact is extremely important. But, you know, people can have all those things and not have it.
This has been.
But how do you measure whether an anchorman has it? That's something people have been trying to do since the anchorman was born 20 years ago. This is the latest method. A commercial station in Spokane, Washington, is using a device called Tellback. The man who invented it, Tom Westbrook, here explains to a group of local townspeople how to use it.
Are you having a negative reaction to that person or a positive reaction to that person? Think of all the things that you want from a person who's on television.
Budget reductions have.
The station then receives a tape with its anchors and the competitors, ranked according to how well they're liked. And the characteristics of a well-liked anchor are the same in every city, and no wonder. Local television news looks the same no matter where you watch. For example, how many of you have an Eyewitness News in your hometown? Here in Minneapolis you do. You also have one in Chicago.
7 Eyewitness News.
And in Pittsburgh. Eyewitness News. In Orlando, Florida.
Eyewitness News.
In Boston.
Good evening. Here's what's happening.
In Cleveland.
First in Ohio.
And in more than 100 other cities in this country.
I refer to it as Burger King News. It's almost like having a franchise that you open up. Everybody has the snazzy open, the nice set, the attractive anchor people, and just plug in the name of the town and the name of the mayor, and you've got a newscast.
The so-called Eyewitness News look was all started by this man, Al Primo, when he was news director 13 years ago at WABC in New York. Primo is a news consultant now, a man concerned with both journalism and cosmetics.
Did he meet Ann yet?
Here he's talking to the news director of a Midwest station about the debut of a new anchor team.
How did they like each other the first time they saw each other?
He also understands how much a good performance by an anchor is worth.
This is a very high-stakes business. Millions of dollars changing hands. So an anchorman who started working for $20,000, $25,000 is now, the next time his contract's up, demanding to get $50,000 and $60,000 and $70,000, and sometimes $100,000, $200,000 and $300,000.
And sometimes even more than that. For example, anchoring the local news in New York City reportedly earns Dave Marish more than $300,000 a year. Gordon Peterson does the same thing in Washington for $370,000 a year, while the highest paid local anchor in the country does it in Los Angeles, Connie Chung, at a reported salary of $600,000 a year. Are they worth it?
I think they are. I think they are. I think that this is still a business where very few can succeed, and those special people who have that gift, in addition to all the reporting skills and all the good intentions, have that extra magic, are worth every nickel.
But the price a local station has to pay for an anchorman can often be more than just salary. For example, this is a meeting of the management of KSTP in Minneapolis. A problem under discussion here. How to manage the ego that goes with being a successful anchorman.
We looked at a potential weekend air talent and thought she was terrific. And even did market research, got a bunch of candidates together to test her. And her agent in New York prepared a laundry list of requests, big salary, car, coaching sessions with a New York drama coach, airline tickets for a relative to come to Minneapolis and visit her, American Express card, unaudited expense account, perk on top of perk on top of perk, things I don't have, things I don't even think the station manager has.
It is very difficult to deal with prima donnas who really don't love and care for their work, like the guy who was here before and left.
Quite frankly, the reality of our business is that we build a news program around the recognition factor of our anchors, their popularity, and when they're popular, they know it, they know when the ratings go up, and they have us over a barrel sometimes. And some of the more unscrupulous ones don't hesitate for a moment to play it for all it's worth.
And how was that for you, okay?
That was fine.
Okay, do Roseanne and Stone this time.
And once an anchorman is picked and paid for, it's time for the hype. Time for the local station to promote its anchors, not as reporters, but as personalities. And so when WABC in New York wants a Christmas promotion,
Speed 27.
the anchors become the focus of an entire feature film crew, complete with snow machine. Hollywood comes to local news. So the promotion of local anchormen today is as slick as any Hollywood feature film. Anchors are now actors, sometimes even comedians, playing roles that portray them as warm personalities, people you'd like to invite into your home. They do all this to keep their ratings high. because if the ratings fall, so too might the head you watch each night.
No topic more prevalent than ratings in a newsroom. Are they up? Are they down? Do they take an overnight? Unless it maybe is between anchors, how many minutes you were on camera versus how many minutes he or she was on camera. That's a very important consideration. I know anchor people whose wives sit there with stopwatches and then compare notes at the end of the cast.
And if the ratings are high, local anchors are easily the best-known people in town. This is Natalie Jacobson, co-anchor of the 6 and 11 o'clock news at the #1 station in Boston, WCVB Channel 5. Natalie's presence in all those living rooms at night is so strong that she not only reports the news, sometimes she is the news.
Natalie had her baby this morning. Little girl, Lindsay Dawn Curtis, 7 pounds, 15.5 ounces, 19 3/4 inches tall. The baby was delivered.
Some tapes were saved for me. I saw that the stations had led with this news, and I was quite taken back by that. I understand that every radio station in Boston led with it throughout the day and night. Well, it sometimes makes me cry. People feel so strongly about us. I'm sorry.
You're like a member of their family.
When they write us such warm letters, send gifts to the baby, things people make that spend hours making, and that's hard to deal with. It makes the responsibility I feel to my audience all the greater, and I'm not sure that I can always live up to that, you know.
Well, success for a local anchor means touching the audience. She has the secret there.
Indeed.
Yeah. Were you ever a local anchor, Tom?
Briefly in the 60s, here in Houston, Texas on Channel 2, and our chief competition across town on Channel 11 was a young tiger named Dan Rather.
Oh, really? Thank you, Tom.
Wow. I guess we can all say, trust a face that you'll like. And I should point out something. My old friend, Mackenzie Henderson, is being nominated. That's right. She is being nominated. She's being nominated. She's the finalist of the Silver Dome Award for WGEM in any other state. So, Mackenzie, if you're watching from your old friend, congratulations. I hope you win. And if you win, you can come down here and we will do a part 2 special. We'll watch this episode, this story again, but with you right by my side. And I hope you're watching this, Mackenzie, because I believe in you. You are the best anchor woman ever. And I'm not being sarcastic. You really are. You did a story about me back in 2018. And let me tell you, you are the best. The best news anchor ever. Where you're at, you were best in Corpus Christi. Now you're best in another station. You still are the best. By telling a story, being very serious, whether it's a serious story or making a story that makes us all feel better. I believe we can. I believe in you, and I believe you can do this. You have to work hard for it. So keep up the great work and you'll shine bright like I do. And I'm not being sarcastic. She is really the best anchor. On this planet. Ever. Wow. Okay. Well, more when we come back. Stay with us. Now a story that may make you question. Can you ever imagine having a drug-sniffing / bomb-sniffing dog hired by a police officer? A lot of officers have that, but can you imagine a school having that? In Rockport, that's exactly what's happening. Tonight, you're going to see that dog and what the Rockport police officers are doing to make sure of this. Because it's all about keeping our schools safe. Here's Bill Churchwell.
I caught up with Blaze right here at the Rockport Fulton Middle School, where he's been on the job now for about 2 weeks. School officials say it's already making a difference. This is Blaze. No doubt he's a... But don't let that sweet face fool you. He takes his new job as a canine officer seriously. We found him side by side with his partner and handler, Officer Kat Caldwell, as they made the rounds at the middle school.
We are out front every morning in the drop-off line, and everybody sees him, and they wave, and he gets excited.
But when you think of a police drug-sniffing canine, a pit bull isn't exactly what comes to mind. You might be surprised to learn more police departments are turning to rescues versus expensive breeds as new recruits.
They want to prove that pit bulls and rescues can do this police job.
We want to push that it's a working dog, it's not a dog we want you to come up and cuddle and pet and kiss. Although at home he gets plenty of that from Officer Caldwell.
Superintendent C.J. Lowry didn't hesitate when the idea was brought to him.
That's a pretty easy yes. Well, first off, it's a deterrent. So it reminds the kids that, hey, we're watching. We're in the area, and the best way to stop any kind of illegal activity is to stop it before it happens.
Including when it comes to keeping drugs off school grounds. We were given a demonstration of Blaze in action. Police Chief Mitzi Story hiding a package that simulates the smell of narcotics inside an empty classroom. Within a minute, Blaze got a hit and alerted his partner. The chief says he is already proving himself to be a great addition to the force.
Come on, you got it!
They're extra vetting to be able to go to work at schools.
Blaze is an honorary Texan after he was originally rescued by the group out of the pits.
It was just perfect timing. Blaze was rescued from a shelter in New York. He was an owner surrender because of medical issues.
He then joined the Sector Canine Training Program, a nonprofit that provides all the training free of charge.
He's a great companion to have, partner at work. He's going to do great things.
Bill Churchwell, 3 News.
Good boy.
Now, by the way, we are told that rescue group that he mentioned out of the pits, they continue to sponsor Blaze, covering any expenses he might need and even his food for life.
What a great story. What a great story to hear about. And wanted to cover with some common sense. So what's the common sense, you may ask? I think it's a great idea to have a dog like that in our schools, a bomb sniffing dog. I mean, this is one of the first school districts that have these. This is one of the first. Every school district ever have a canine officer. The first school. I'd imagine more schools have this. If they did, then wow. We know. Then we know. But so I think it's a great idea to have a canine just in case. Because we don't have to rely on those police dogs. I mean, if it's what the school district wants, then the superintendent can go, yeah, that's a great idea. I mean, Rockport maybe do the same thing, so they just be looking at Rockport and be like, yeah, that's a great idea. But that has to be brought before the Board of Education. Well, now you know. All right. Let's find some notes to talk about. And while we're talking here, Again, I do want to point out here, we're sticking to this TV until we get a new one. I hope to get a brand new one. A replacement from the old TV. It cracked because I forgot to unplug the laptop, and that was the result of it breaking. So I hope that'll never happen again. So we're stuck with this bad boy until I get a replacement remote and all the nonsense. Okay. Can you ever imagine a country trying to fight bullying? That is what one country is doing. And CCISD, I mean not CCISD, and bullying going on. I mean, this was the whole thing that got violent. It was the debate that happened. So it's also part of the Stop Bullying Speak Up group, which I created on Facebook. Take a look.
Hey. For the ones working hard so things can keep running, there's Granger.
In France, the education minister is set to announce a plan to combat bullying in schools today. The issue, he says, is going to be his top priority. It comes after a number of shocking cases where teenagers who had suffered bullying committed suicide. In each of those cases, the parents of the victims had alerted the schools to the problem, but not enough was done to help them. Well, to talk more about this, about me, and particularly how bullying is seen here in France, I'm joined by Angela Diffley, our International Affairs Editor. Angela, first, tell us a bit more about the background to this initiative.
Yeah, as in any country, there are sadly, from time to time, very tragic cases like this. There were two particularly high-profile ones, one just before the end of the last school year, a 13-year-old girl who took her own life, and another just 2 days into the new school year, a 15-year-old boy took his own life. And in both cases, they said they complained to the schools and not enough was done. We have in France a new education minister. He was appointed just before the summer, and so he is now in charge of this. He's young, he's energetic, he has small children of his own, and it is in no way to denigrate this plan, but it is true that this is something where he can make his mark and people can really unite around a policy like this. No parent is not going to be in agreement with some sort of policy to combat bullying. There's a lot of talk on the airwaves about these two big cases somehow igniting a Me Too movement in France around bullying. So this is a big moment, and there will be a before and after these bullying measures are announced, anti-bullying measures.
So given how big a moment this is, what is he likely to announce?
Some announcements have already been made. They're all now to be included in a major package to tackle bullying. I think we have a graphic coming up. A lot of them are punitive measures. Number one, that the victim no longer would have to change school, which has sometimes been the case until now. It will be the bully, and that every education authority will have to have some sort of anti-bullying strategy, a unit to deal with at every education authority. The next four rely rather a lot on the cooperation of either parents or social media companies. So we will await to hear how he expects that to work in reality. Under 15-year-olds will not be allowed to register for social media accounts without the authority of their parents. They're planning to link that up with some of the software used to belong to any school, so that might be how that works. There are also other suggestions. We've also got phone confiscation. Again, how's that going to work? They're relying on parents a bit with that, but a judge can order a phone to be confiscated before the end of some sort of procedure. Digital curfews, again, relying on parents, and bullies being banned from social media if they are found to be bullies, and judges would be introduced. So a lot more penal involvement, police involvement, judge involvement. alongside that that judicial response, if you like, are some other ideas, and I know we're going to hear a little more about this in a minute, but they've been looking very much at some of the ideas in Denmark. One is an anti-bullying, an idea of empathy classes from a very young age for children to make them aware of how other people feel. So that's a key thing. Denmark has very good results on anti-bullying policies.
Right, because this, of course, isn't just a problem in France, bullying.
No, it's sadly, bullying has always existed. The fact that we now have social media means that for the victims there's very little respite. They're pursued on their phones. But it is something which has always existed. Something which is interesting to note, France, like some countries and unlike others, schools in France have traditionally been seen as somewhere where children are instructed. And the moral education, if you like, of children is seen to be the preserve of parents. Now, over recent years and recent decades, that has merged, and that's perhaps why in France they were a little bit slower to tackle bullying. More and more schools are having to take on what might have been something parents would be expected to do, the moral education of their children.
And there what needs to happen here. We have a lot of bullying going on in this country. Remember Adriana Kurtz? She was being bullied. And 2 days later the school sent out a letter. More has got to be done. When you hear people say, like, nothing is being done, I mean, think about it. You report this to the school, and then the school does it, and they left your face going, oh, kids will be kids. It doesn't matter. Common sense. That's what we need. We all need some common sense. And when it comes to this, things have got to change. You can't change what you don't acknowledge. You can't just sit there and go, oh, you can't sit there and go, oh, there's a bullying problem. Don't deal with it. If assistant principals are training other assistant principals to deal with, on how to deal with this, they need to be retrained on how to deal with it. If there's bullying going on, steps have got to be taken. If you're being bullied, you need to make sure that you talk to your teacher, a principal, and your parents. So if I go walk up to someone and go, hey, shorty, what's up, shorty? What you gonna do, shorty? It may be funny, but if he's laughing with me, then that may be okay. But if it's not, you need to stop and I can go on, hey, shorty, hey, shorty. Now let's say it's not true. Let's say that happened. And he went to the principal, or he went to his parents and go, hey, that big guy that plays the guitar in the corner calls me shorty and I don't like it. He would be absolutely right. Absolutely right. Now, I take this bullying business very seriously. I take to what was done very seriously. And people want to stand up here and say, well, you shouldn't be talking about this. It is something to be talked about every day. And France is tackling bullying. But there is a new report from the CDC that talks about bullying. We'll have that for you when we return. Stay with us. There's a report from the CDC which says that over 10% of people have been bullied via social media. And this superintendent right here is pleading everyone with a message. Take a look.
New at 5, the superintendent of Pearland ISD makes a plea on social media for students to stop the bullying. A warning, some of what you're about to see is hard to watch. Sherman Chow talking with the superintendent tonight.
This was 2 years ago at Ross Sterling High School in Baytown. A 15-year-old student beaten for refusing to fight, to be cool. Last year, this Humboldt middle schooler with autism was harassed, his wrist broken. Extreme examples of bullying. Schools want to prevent that and bullying in any form.
But lately, some things have come across my desk that, frankly, aren't proud moments.
Including Pearland ISD. Superintendent Larry Berger made this recent Instagram post because of bullying reports.
Whether it was face-to-face in the cafeteria, in the hallway, or on social media. It wasn't necessarily a big event. We had a really good start to the school year. Coming off the pandemic and a couple years removed from it, there were some social issues out of the pandemic. I just want to make sure that we don't go down that trail.
The CDC reports 1 in 5 high school students reported being bullied on campus in the past year. 1 in 6 high schoolers reported being cyberbullied in the past year. The first course of action, reaching out to students and parents.
If bullying persists, what kind of disciplinary actions would a student expect?
We may give a detention consequence or an INS, an in-school suspension consequence, but it's always coupled with how do we change that behavior.
Pearland, like other districts, have anonymous tip lines to report bullying, which gets more frequent as the school year goes on.
Friendships break up, boyfriend and girlfriends break up, there's competition and rivalry that happens. And so when you have, say, for example, our high school where there's 3,200 students in that building, you're not going to like everybody.
That's okay, but what definitely is not? Bullying, which in extreme cases can lead to charges and arrests. Sherman Chow, KHOU 11 News.
Which is the common sense perspective. And like I've been talking about throughout the 7 years of the broadcast. We have to understand, I mean, these kids are not stopping the bullying. We talked about bystanders. People just sit there and watch. Like, think about this. High school fights. People just are circling around like vultures, figuring out what's going on, and people will just always get out their phones and film them because of social media. Remember the case we talked about in Body Cam Footage to where it got everybody's attention? Everybody's filming, thinking, what's going on? Oh, okay. That's what everybody's doing. They're not sending out help, they're not moving in, they're just sitting there watching it happen because they don't want to get involved or get hit. And I completely understand that. I do. But what I don't understand is why people need to get out their phones and then post on social media. Bullying is wrong. France needs to have curfews, digital curfews. That needs to be on the parents. And bullying can lead to legal consequences. Jail time. I mean, you assault somebody, that is legit jail time. I mean, for kids under 10, that's automatic. That for kids under 15, 16, that's automatic juvenile detention center. We'll scare them straight. We'll scare the bullies straight. We'll throw them in jail and say, okay, this is where you're going to be if you keep on hitting people. And these anonymous tips, you go to anonymous websites and you just type in what happened and they'll tell you and they won't even get to it. They just sit there and do a bunch of paperwork and spend our tax dollars. What needs to happen here? If your child, parents, listen, if your child is being bullied, you need to take steps. Have meetings with your principal. Have meetings with the superintendent. Attend school board meetings. That way they can know and understand that this is an issue that needs to be taken seriously and will not be tolerated. As someone who created the group years ago, I know what it's like. I see people being bullied at school, on the news, fights that happen. Like it's Jerry Springer, but this isn't Jerry Springer. This is real life that we're talking about. This is something that we see every day. And if it doesn't stop, or if it continues, you know what's going to happen? Everybody's going to want to switch different schools. They're going to lose a lot of money, and whose fault is that going to be? The bullies. What do we need to do? We need to scare bullies straight. What I'm thinking about doing is recreating the Scared Straight program. If I was a school member and I said that we create the Scared Straight program for bullies. If they get ISS, we'll put them with the police officer in a juvenile detention center, where for 1 day at ISS, during their day at ISS, they will be with the officer. They'll be with inmates, and they'll tell them, saying, you know what's happening? You're going to continue doing this. Scare them straight. That's what schools are doing. They're doing their Scared Straight programs, and they're scaring kids straight. I mean, think of a TV show called Scared Straight. I mean, we have juvenile detention centers. We throw them in juvie, and they'll learn that, hey, if I continue doing this, this is what's going to happen. So what's the bottom line here? Kids, if you're being bullied, talk to the principal. Talk to your parents. The parents, talk to the principal and the superintendent. If you feel they're not listening to you, you need to talk to the school board. If the school board's not doing anything about it, you go to the fourth step of hiring a lawyer, filing a lawsuit. That's the 4 steps that you need to take. We'll be right back. Stay with us. So have you ever met somebody that just wants to make your brighten your day or make you smile? Years ago, that's what one person did. He worked at Wendy's, and he was stuck at the fast food industry for years, and he was like saying, so what can I do to make this better? So he started entertaining and started having a movie trailer voice. You're about to meet this man, and he's what we call, and he's our example of viral break. Take a look.
Would like to try one of our money-saving combos tonight.
Josh Lewis might truly have one of the best voices you'll ever hear from the microphone of a drive-thru.
You got it. Your total's going to come out to $887. First window. Thank you.
At Wendy's in Florida, Josh has a movie trailer voice that he uses when taking people's orders and speaking with customers.
And what kind of sauce with these? No sauce? No problem. What are the drinks?
But he didn't always have such a positive outlook on his job.
I hit a dead end. I'm stuck in the fast food industry. Nowhere to go, nothing to do, not enough funds to go anywhere else. So I said, well, how can I make this better? Well, I can stop being just a drive-thru operator and become an entertainer.
Your total comes out to $1149 at the first window. Thank you.
Josh does hope to one day make a career out of his voice. And even though it's not part of the corporate protocol, the district manager for Wendy's tells newspress.com that the 27-year-old makes customers happy and has a great personality.
Hello!
He's amazing. That's why I thought as soon as I came around, I'm like, I want to hire you. Josh sure has a lot of talent, and we think that movie trailers could be in his future.
And here we are, Ulysses. Have a super evening, and we'll see you next time.
Be sure to tune in to Inside Edition.
What an amazing story by Josh. Having a movie trailer voice. Nobody can be as a great movie trailer voice as Mark Elliott, one of the mysteries. If you ever watched the Disney VHS tape, you heard that voice years ago. That's Mark Elliott, one of the voices of Disney, one of the greatest announcers of Disney ever. He also did announcements from CBS, whatever, but he is the great announcer. Look him up. His name is Mark Elliott. He died, he passed away, but I believe he's still one of the greatest. So look him up, pop in a Disney VHS tape, wait to hear his voice, and you will know exactly what I'm talking about. Don't compare him to this guy, because let me tell you, just basically all out, he's one of the greats. Along with Mark Elliott. Alright. We might have time for one more. Almost 1 year ago, one of the voice actors for a really popular kids show got death threats. According to the voice actor, he got death threats. Let's take a look.
I love you, you love me. How could anyone hate Barney? Back in the 1990s, the popular dinosaur was a huge TV hit.
Barney is a dinosaur from our imagination.
It even served as the launching pad for future stars Selena Gomez and Demi Lovato.
I always hold hands with a grown-up.
But a new docuseries is exploring a disturbing dark side surrounding the beloved children's character. I Love You, You Hate Me, airing on Peacock.
Hello there!
Bob West, the original voice of Barney, spoke with Inside Edition's Ann Mercogliano.
It wasn't Barney himself who had a dark side. It was just society that had a dark side. the documentary talks about the folks who had a negative reaction to the show and to the character.
You were actually receiving death threats.
One of the threats just said, I'm going to find you and I'm going to kill you.
Oh my God.
And there was a group called the Jihad Against Barney. Barney was their evil villain.
Stuffed Barney toys were burned, hacked to pieces, even hung.
Can you see how it could be traumatizing?
Oh yeah, I can see how it could be traumatizing.
The new documentary also explores the personal drama for Barney creator Cheryl Leach. In 2015, her 27-year-old son Patrick was sentenced to 15 years in prison for shooting a man in the chest in a neighbor versus neighbor dispute. What did Barney do to inspire all the hate?
It's so great to meet you.
West believes it was a backlash to Barney's childhood innocence.
What did Barney stand for?
Barney stood for, and still stands for, inclusion and understanding and compassion and caring for each other.
I love you, you love me.
I Love You, You Hate Me begins streaming Wednesday on Peacock.
And I don't recommend you watch it. If you find that, don't watch it. And don't let your kids watch it. Not Barney, the documentary. I don't recommend that either. And with that piece of horrific news that happened almost a year ago, that's Give Me a Break for this Friday going to Saturday. Again, we're going to stick with this TV until I get a new one. You guys are going to have to bear with me here. And with Xbox, using the Xbox as YouTube, like last year, you got to stick with me here, so I'm trying to understand. So again, with that horrific news that happened almost a year ago, that's Give Me a Break for this Friday going to Saturday. We'll see you again tomorrow for Give Me a Break Saturday night. If not before. For all of us here at YouTube, stop bullying, speak up. Good night, everyone.